Welcome to the FMCG Guys, the podcast that dives into the innovation, strategy, and trends shaping consumer goods and retail in Europe and beyond.
Welcome to the FMCG Guys podcast. This is Daniel Torres here, coming in live from Barcelona. End of 2025 when I'm recording this, but it will already be 26 when you're now listening to this podcast. We're going to speak about it today, but I think it's going to be an eventful year. I feel like ever since the turn of like the last decade, it's been like every year has been packed with surprises. Some of them good, but a lot of them bad as well. But at least here in the FMCG Guys, I think that things are going very well. We had a very interesting year last year where we continued to bring in top voices from the industry. I mean, I'm very, very happy of the work that Ferrer, Christina, and I put into this. Also, we had 3 large in-person events. We had Candid Commerce London, we had Candid Commerce New York, and we had Candid Commerce Amsterdam. We also had like 3 big events doing Shop Talk in Barcelona. So yeah, we're very excited about what this year will bring. And I'm as you're listening to this, I'll be probably at one of the big January events. I will be at CES in Las Vegas, NRF in New York after that, and then at the end of the month I'm gonna be with my friends at Shop Talk Lux, the first ever edition of that in Abu Dhabi, of which I'm very excited about for the event, and obviously the warm weather in January will be much appreciated. And then I'll actually be in Dubai as well end of that week to go to Dubai. No, Gold Foods, the event is called, and hopefully you're gonna be recording some podcasts with some top people in the Gulf. So yeah, very excited about the year. So let's hope our guest today is also equally excited about the year. I mean, from what we talked about when we were preparing for this episode a couple of months ago, she had a lot of exciting things going on. So hopefully she can share about a bit more about that with us today. And our guest today is actually heading up global category and customer marketing at LIPTON Teas and Infusions. And her name is Marina Nesterenko. Thanks so much for joining me, Marina. How are you?
Thank you very much for inviting, Daniel. So, no, all good. Ready to wrap up the year. It's great to hear that you have a lot of exciting plans for 2026. So looking forward to closing the year and starting a new one. And thanks for invitation.
Not at all. Not at all. What's the year been like for you if you look back at it?
Oh, that was a pretty exciting year. So it was the year, kind of the first full year since I joined Lipton Teas and Infusions. So there were a lot of things that were going on, and also it was the first full year since I launched my personal project as well, the champagne bar in Paris. So the year was very busy, very insightful, and a lot of things to celebrate.
Yeah. Congrats. And as much as like a year or age is only a number, it is nice to see when, as you're saying, when you start a new role, to have like the whole cycle of a year for the first time, to see like actually, whatever I accomplished, you can measure more. I think it's a nice,
Absolutely.
because also we take a break at the end of it. It's a nice way of measuring things, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, as much as we can't be slaves of like the year, right? Because sometimes you feel like you have to finish everything by that. I think that's a bit artificial. It is a nice measure. So Marina, I wanted to ask you, because you have a very interesting career background. How did you start your career in business? I mean, I know that you're originally from Russia, and you started your career at a very particular and very exciting time in your country.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we talk about my career background, I have spent 25 years at Mars. I started right from the university as a merchandiser and ended my career in Mars on senior leadership roles, like both in global and regional teams. And 2 years ago, I have decided to go for a radical career change, moving from a very protective environment after 25 years into actually private equity owned company and started my own business. So now I'm the global category director for Lipton Teas and Infusions and the founder of Bubble Bliss, the one and the only champagne experience bar in Paris. So if you think about my career, I always have worked in demand creation functions. So I started in sales. So this is my home function, and my first 10 years, I worked in sales on different roles, geographies, categories in Russia. Back in the beginning of 2000s.
I think, Marina, it's worth asking you about this. What was Russia like? What was the market like when you started your career
It was really,
in
really
in the
exciting.
early 2000s?
Yeah, it was really exciting. Many of my friends also started at the same time in different FMCG companies. And when we get together, we kind of discuss it. So I think, you know, it was a time of enormous opportunities. Imagine after the collapse of the Soviet Union, all the big companies, CPG companies, are coming to Russia, open their offices, build factories. The demand for the products is huge. It's like a blue ocean. But at the same
Yeah.
time, there's no ready to recruit talent, because you can imagine in Soviet Union there were no marketeers or no salespeople or no ready now managers. So eventually, all these companies come. They want to build something big quickly, and it was very interesting how they were recruiting people. So I was kind of the first or maybe the second wave of recruitment. So they literally were like, the first criteria, you should have been speaking the language. So you should have been speaking either perfect English, for example, if you were joining Mars, or perfect French if you would be joining L'Oreal. So, and then they would put a very coherent assessment process. So what they were looking for is eventually the capabilities, ability to work in the team, and learning agility. So they kind of recruited the capable people who could speak the languages. Okay, we are going to teach them everything very quickly. We just need people who are capable to learn fast, motivated, and that will go for it.
So they were not really looking at, like, I guess that having a degree was important, no? But not necessarily what
Yeah,
degree you
degree
studied.
degree was important, but it was not. I can give you examples for the first area sales managers. A lot of first area sales managers at Mars were people who were graduating from philological department. So actually, they could speak English well. Or, for example, from the military academies, because these guys also were speaking language well. So like,
Yeah.
yeah,
So what was it like for you? I mean, you must have been very young at the time. I imagine you were, because I think that in Russia also, you normally go to university earlier than most countries go. I think lots of people go to university at 16 or
yeah,
something like that. So, right? So probably when you started working, you were in
22.
your very
I was
22,
22. Yeah,
right? And you were an area sales manager. And if I look at your profile, it says that you were working in Vladivostok.
yeah, exactly.
So how was it to be selling FMCG products in Vladivostok? To whoever doesn't know the Russian geography, is much closer to Seoul and Pyongyang than it is to Moscow.
Yeah. So how was it? It was pretty hard, but also a lot of fun. So my first position even was not the area sales manager. My first position was merchandiser, and my job was imagine the winter -20 degrees in Vladivostok with a very strong wind. And my first job was to put the chocolate bars on the best position in a kiosk. Do you know what kiosk is?
Yeah. Like a small standalone store.
Yeah, like a small standalone store with no entrance. So you have a big glass window, frozen.
Yeah.
So first you need to unfroze it. So then you need to kind of prepare it for putting the special, we call it TPD, the name of the display. You put chocolate bar inside and then you stick it on the window. So that was my first job. So -20 strong wind, you get out of your car and then you go and talk to the lady who works there, convincing her to let you in and do the job and put this TPD on the window of the kiosk.
Did you actually relocate to Vladivostok for the role?
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
Did you relocate from?
No. I was there already. So
Yeah.
I
So
was,
you moved there. Or?
I was, I graduated from the university in Vladivostok, and then I stayed there for my.
Okay. You studied in
Yeah,
Vladivostok.
exactly.
Okay. Got it. Interesting. So then obviously you developed your career and you moved to like the western part of Russia.
Before I moved to western part of Russia, I moved to
Uh-huh.
Siberia. So,
Oh, okay. Wow.
yeah, my first promotion was I got the area sales manager position, and I moved to Irkutsk in Siberia. So the temperature decreases to -40. So when you need to do a sales training to members of your team, you literally get out of the car, you run to the shop, and
Wow.
then you exit the shop and run back to the car. And on your car, you have a special mechanism that restarts the car every hour. Otherwise,
Wow.
-40, you would not be able to restart the car. So,
Wow.
and on top of that, another challenge I had in Siberia, I was 24 when I got this job. So I moved there, and to add to the complexity, certain distributors at the time in the country in the city decided to reinvest some money they were getting from sneakers into the gold diamond mines in Yakutia. So, and when I came, there were like millions of deaths, uh, and like no product on the warehouse, shops demanding sneakers and Mars and M&Ms, but we can't supply because distributor has the debts, and 40 agents, sales agents that are looking at you that you are going to bring a solution, and you are 24-year-old girl who just arrived and the first manager job. So that was kind of the reality we were operating at the time. Yeah, and then after Siberia, I moved actually back to Vladivostok and then to St. Petersburg.
Got it. And then in St. Petersburg, and then you went to Moscow,
Yeah.
where I think you took on more like corporate jobs, quote unquote, because when you're on the field, it's a different story. How did you also like adapt at that young age to like these type of career changes? Because like, is it on the way you also took on people management, different type of people management, and so on?
Yeah. So I think, working at Russia at the time kind of was a very, very particular environment. Of course, the company gave you a lot of trainings. And for example, they would train you how to do people management. They would train you how to sell. But we all know that training is like 10% of learning, and everything else get just doing your job. And how do you adapt? You just adapt. It's like if I'm thinking, back into Russia in 2000s, this is what shaped, I think, me as a professional, but also shaped me like personally, like my character a lot. Some of the things I'm thinking about what I learned from this year, just living, working, adapting. So, like, always look for opportunities because there are a lot of opportunities. Then another thing, each problem has solution. So there's not like, oh, problem, what do I do? No. E- Every problem has solution. You just need to look at it. No time to complain, go for it. So sometimes in Europe and the Western world, so people that, there's this problem, that problem, and I expect this from somebody, and that in Russia at the time you would not do that. You would just, okay, that's a problem, I need to solve it, I don't have time to complain, just go and do it. And then another thing is destiny is in your own hands. You don't count on anyone else. If somebody else comes and helps you, perfect. But then you need to count on yourself to find a solution. And I think the last one is what I was taking from this experience is just like what I call team before individual. In this kind of circumstances, in very volatile environment, when you have several financial crises with ruble default, double-digit inflation, lots of ambiguity, consistently changing environment. In many cases, you just want to say, okay, yes, I can do many things, but you group together and you work on problem solving together. So this is kind of this is how it was, how I now evaluate this experience shaping me as a professional, as a individual, and also kind of formed my character to a certain point. So as you can imagine, coming from this environment to Europe in 2014 was like a spa. So
How was it? Because I think that within Mars, you moved to the Royal Canin division in an unusual place as well, because they're based in Montpellier. So going from Moscow to Montpellier must have been an experience, I
yeah,
imagine.
it was like a spa, like so the environment was once of a sudden you come from all this, very ambiguous, very challenging environment, still lots of opportunities, but it's a challenge every day, to more stable, more quiet environment, and eventually moving to France was very, very soft and smooth and good, and it was very easy. In Royal Canin, there's an amazing culture. People who work in the company are very special, because you can imagine people who come to work in Royal Canin, they're all pet lovers. So it's a very special kind of people. So I was very warmly welcomed. They helped me to understand the business, the specificity of the business. They were very eager to contribute to the first project I have started, which was the global category vision. So the only issue I had at the time, actually I had two issues. One, like in terms of working culture, the only issue I had was understanding. It took me a while, probably a year, to understand that in the French working culture, it's very unusual when people express openly their some kind of negative feedback or a different opinion. So it took me some time to figure out, for example, when my line manager would come and tell me, Marina, I hear people say that. I was like, okay, who says? Let me go and talk to people. And took me 1 year to figure out. Then when he said people say, it
It was
meant
him.
that it was my
Yeah.
feedback to you. But he was very uncomfortable passing this feedback to me. So, and the other big difficulty I had when moving to France is that you are south of France. I was close to Montpellier. Like, back in terms of services level, lifestyle and services level, you are going back 10 years. You are going 10 years back compared to
Mm.
Moscow, for example, at the time.
Like, for example,
For example, my first appointment in the bank, and they say, okay, so now we are going to give you the checkbook. I was like, what? Like, checkbook? And at the time, there was no Apple Pay. Like, everywhere in Moscow already, there was Apple Pay. You paid with your phone. At the time,
yeah,
it didn't exist in France. Or
well,
it took 2 weeks to get internet in your home. We in Russia, you call, they come the same day, you have the internet. And we, even with our expat community, we were all the time joking that we are going to write a book about expat life in France, and everyone will take a chapter on a topic that was the most traumatizing. Like my topic was banks, somebody else wanted to have the health system, somebody else wanted to have whatever, but we all had kind of our services traumatizing experiences.
There were a few chapters, I imagine, from
Yeah,
what you're
yeah,
saying.
yeah. I mean, everything you would take in terms of services would be a separate chapter.
Yeah, yeah. But I imagine there's something that you must like about France because now you call it home partially.
Absolutely. I mean, I love everything, absolutely everything about France. I love people. I love the culture. Like if you think about like history, culture, uh, food, wines, this art de vivre, that nobody's Russian anywhere. So you have your life, and it's your life that rules, and not anything else. How people are sitting on a terrace, drinking wine for 2 hours, or drinking a coffee in the morning and reading the newspaper. That's priceless. So
And then there's a point in which you decide after, what did you say, 25 years to leave Mars, or the Mars family, let's say, because then you were Royal Canin. What drove you to that decision at that point in time?
hmm. I was, it didn't happen overnight, right? I was kind of, the last 3 years, I think I was sitting there on the meeting and thinking, like, is it the best way how I could spend 8 hours of my life? And I still loved the company. I still loved people and vision and everything. But I had this feeling like, I at the time I was 45 years old, and I was like, okay, do I stay all my life here, or do I go and do something else? And this feeling was there for like 3 years. No, I was not. Yeah, it started more or less when I was 40 years old, something like that, 40, 42. And then I was like, it was kind of bubbling in my head for some time, and one day I said, no, I don't want to stay here all my life. I mean, I have probably 15 to 20 years of active career still, and I want to go and do something else. And that was the moment when I started working on a personal project, and this is the moment when Lipton approached and it all came at the same time. So I didn't plan when I was leaving Mars. I didn't want to join any other corporate world company. So I only wanted to do Bubble Bliss. But then Lipton called, and they actually explained me what they are doing, what is the challenge, and after listening to that, I just couldn't say no.
Yeah. Do you think, because that's, I speak with a lot of people in the industry through my career in recruitment, and even now in general I speak with a lot of people, and I do feel like the corporate world can be very rewarding at all stages, really. But I do find that there's a lot of people that at more or less the same age as you have a bit of a fallout. Like they fall a bit out of love with the corporate world. I don't know if that's something that you've seen as well.
Absolutely. I think about 70% of people I know who work in the corporate world, aged 40 to 50, um, are not happy, or are not happy at their work anymore. They're not enjoying their work anymore. So why they fall out of love? I kind of thought about it. I have a theory that, like in terms of motivation, I mean, by that time you already kind of earn good money, right? And money is not a motivation anymore. So what I think is keeping you going and being engaged and motivated are two things. You're either growing and developing personally and professionally, or you're really kind of like you are believing or in the purpose and vision of what these people are doing. So, and somehow, by the time you reach 40 and you already have a certain level, uh, your opportunity to grow and develop become less, right? Because imagine you are 25 years old, you are brand manager today, tomorrow you can be HR manager because you are still very early in your career.
Or you have a lot of levels
Yeah,
on top of you.
or exactly. Or you have many levels on top of you. But imagine you are HR VP, you can't become, CMO overnight. So you still can grow and develop on your current role, but your opportunities are limited. So yes, you can change the category, you can change the company, you can change the country, but you still are going to be doing more or less the same thing. Um, and the other thing, in terms of purpose, I think it's kind of, I don't know if it's a cliche or not, middle age crisis, what it hits you at your 40, 45, whatever. So um, you start asking yourself the question, even if you love the company still and you love the mission and purpose of the company, like, is it my purpose? Like, is it how I want to spend the 8 hours of my day sitting on these meetings, writing these presentations, or I still can do something more meaningful in my life? And I think kind of it's the combination of those things and that bring people to kind of being less engaged and kind of falling out of love with their work. But then, interestingly, even if those questions are bubbling in your head, and even if you are kind of not engaged at work and come to your work as to the prison and complaining all the time, still not a lot of people are doing something about it. So and why? Why? I think. I think many people are scared to bring some changes. Again, imagine you are so secured. You like get your salary every month. You have all these benefits like health insurance and corporate car. You also have a status. Like you are GM of Italy. In whatever company. So you are not ready to tomorrow have zero income, earn for your own car and your own insurance and become no one, become an entrepreneur, for example. So this is why I think many people they're not happy. They complain all the time. They go to work like to a prison, but they continue doing it because they're afraid of making these dramatic changes in their lives.
Yeah, I think also it's part responsibility of the companies to do something about that. No, like how can we have these employees more engaged? Because ultimately these people are in management responsibilities. A lot of people will look up to them, and it can be like a bit toxic. Just to summarize it, they're like somebody that's been in the company has that attitude, and I think there's been like something that's kind of been lost for companies in the last few years, which is like what is their purpose other than making money, right? What is the purpose of like certain brands? How can they contribute to society, and how can you, as an executive in consumer goods that's selling bleach or selling some type of food or something, are you having a net positive impact on society? And the reality is that a lot of multinationals, and I don't think they're having that positive impact on society. And you can kind of tell yourself that the contrary, but up to a certain point. But I think we've seen huge cuts in programs of CSR, and at least in the notoriety, there's just no, there's too much of a drive towards Wall Street and not enough towards your own employees and ultimately the society you're serving.
Mm.
That's personally what I think.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting discussion and maybe a topic for kind of a round table to do with, like, I think it's a kind of a topic that deserves a separate conversation. Like how to keep like 40 plus 20-year-old professionals in a big corporate world, because these people have a lot of expertise, knowledge. You know, they know which button to push in case,
Yeah.
but unfortunately, they are losing the motivation, and it would be, I think, a good opportunity to do a round table and discuss with those type of professionals, HR specialists, for example, together, because indeed it is a problem for individuals, but it is a problem for the companies as well. It's like, you have a lot of passengers on your battleship.
Yeah. I think that you have to be aware of that, and that's something that's been. Yeah, I feel that it's just not enough focus on that. I mean, if you want a sustainable business, your people need to be happy, and as you said, all the types of people in the company need to be happy, or at least not. You have to be like very clear of like, okay, so this is more a company for these type of people. Uh, so you have to work on your culture more. How have you personally found motivation? So you've rejoined a big company, but you also had your personal project. Like before we talk about that, what do you think like you found? Because I'm sure you've been like through some thought about like really looked at yourself and have it for process of self-reflection clearly. What have you found motivates you personally?
So my motivation, I can think about several things. I like change. So, and I do big changes in my life every 3 to 4 years. So, including career changes. So, um, this like new function, new category, new company, starting up your own business. So this gives me a lot of motivation, because it kind of, you restart the learning curve.
Yeah, it's a part of. I think it's a part that you said before about growth and development, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of restarting from scratch your learning curve. The first year, it's all about learning. You're learning a new company, you're learning a new category, you are learning the new function, whatever it is. So for me, this kind of regenerative cycle of 3 to 4 years is very important. Then I find the motivation in achieving things, but real things like business things. I'm a very entrepreneur mind person. Even if I work like 25 years in corporate, I'm very, very entrepreneurial in my mind. So I want to see the achievements of myself and my team. So when the achievements are coming, then it keeps me very motivated. And then finally, I mean, it's obvious thing, but this is definitely something that makes me wake up and wanting to come to work is people I work with. I definitely can say I would not work in the company where I don't enjoy the people I'm working with. And like a part of like my motivation currently with Lipton and Bubble Bliss as well, it's like that I really love people I work with. I'm happy to come every day to the office, see them, discuss with them. It gives me enormous motivation.
So let's talk about your. We'll talk about Lipton later and how you see the category and so on, which I think is very interesting. But tell me about, because I think that that's relatively unusual that people that are in corporate go all in with a personal business, especially if it's like in retail and hospitality like yourself. But tell me about it and how it all came up.
How it all came out. So I'm a big fan of champagne. So
So am I. I have to say, probably not. I probably don't know much about it as you, but I love drinking it.
so you need to come to Paris and visit Bubble Bliss. Then we will make you even more fall in love with champagne and start your learning journey about this wine.
You can count. You can count on that for sure.
Yeah, we will do that. So it all started with a passion. So I'm very passionate about champagne. I'm not an expert in champagne. I do have some qualification, but I'm not like a big expert. I'm just a drinker. So and when I moved to France, so this passion became bigger. So I ended up spending a lot of time in Champagne. And when I moved to Paris, I discovered that there's no place where you can go and drink champagne and uncover new varieties for you. And it's interesting because it's also at the same time, more or less, when a big trend started in Champagne, which is like growers champagne. It's like the small wine producers started to create their own wines. Now you have like hundreds of different champagne styles, but very few people know about it because, of course, champagne is known around the world because of the big brands. And even living in Paris, I realized that there is no place where you can go and discover all these new styles. So I was waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting until somebody will open this place, and nobody did. And when I already thought, okay, I'm gonna be leaving my corporate world to do something else, I had several things in my mind what I could do. Of course, like one of the obvious things was consulting, and I already had some customers who wanted me to work with them. But I was like, consulting, no, I don't feel like it. I felt like opening something for champagne. And from the moment I had this idea to the moment Bubble Bliss opened its doors, it was 18 months. So very quick. And in the middle, I had Lipton knocking the door, ask like, would you like to join? I said, I'm in the middle of something different. But then they were so, they were talking about the challenge and the opportunities and like the project so passionately. And I was so intrigued by everything which is going to happen that I couldn't say no. So I started both things at the same time. It was very rough, but I'm very lucky. Like with Bubble Bliss, I managed to build a very good team. So I'm not there. I mean, they are running the business. I'm there sometimes on the weekends. I'm there sometimes in the evenings. I'm doing like a regular like project management. So we have like a team meeting every week. But I'm not operationally managing it. So interestingly, I don't. I mean, I love doing both because sometimes, sometimes I'm working a shift in the bar together with guys just to see how the processes work and how the customers' feedback is. And I'm doing it like every second weekend. I work in the bar in the shift as a sommelier. Yeah, and then after that, I'm happy to take my train Sunday evening back to Amsterdam. Say goodbye, guys. So I'm leaving you with these customers and so on, etc. And I'm going back to Lipton to my big projects, global projects, category vision. So I'm very happy to go back to my work in Amsterdam. And vice versa. Sometimes I'm really tired after a week of busy meetings and discussions, etc. And I'm happy to come to the bar to take my glass of champagne and really relax and forget about it.
And obviously, we'll leave a link to the bar, to Bubble Bliss, the champagne bar, in the show notes in case anyone wants to learn more. I think it's based somewhere very central in Paris, right?
Yeah, we are in a very chic location. So it's in Saint-Germain-des-Prés. It's in the 6th arrondissement of Paris. So the location is amazing. We have more than 300 different champagnes. We have the biggest champagnes carte in Paris. And we also have an amazing French gastronomic cuisine. So if somebody from the listeners would like to come and have aperitif or dinner, you're always welcome.
Absolutely. And I think you also do like events for groups if needed and so
Yeah,
on, right?
yeah, absolutely. We do private events, we do events for groups, we do special events with winemakers, champagne houses. So it's a very vivid place.
Excellent. So let's not discard an FMCG guys event there in 2026, because Paris is definitely was one of the cities that we know a lot of people in, and we would like to do something there. So we'll talk about that. What about Lipton? So Lipton is an interesting one, right? Because I think it was originally a spin-off of Unilever, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So
So Lipton was
yeah,
a part of Unilever, but then it was purchased by the private equity, CVC. Lipton is like Lipton Teas and Infusions speaks for itself. So we are the biggest tea company in the world. And tea, I mean, one of the things which is very exciting and why I joined the company is because I love the category. As a category director, you need to love the category you are working with. And I'm a tea drinker through and through. So I drink probably, I don't know, from 4 to 8 cups of tea daily. Um, and uh, and um, when I was told that I have an opportunity to come and craft the future of this category together with the team, for me it was a definite yes. So tea is, I mean, just the category itself. If you think about tea, it's just amazing. It's um, if you think about if you think about this drink, it's more than 5,000 years old.
wow,
It's I think it has been the most enduring humanity's ritual. So it's so deeply incorporated in the culture of it, actually not in one culture, in many cultures, but in a very
yeah,
different
yeah,
way,
and very different countries as well.
very
Like
different
I
ways.
was 2 weeks ago. I was in Morocco, and everywhere you go, they make you sit down to have tea, right?
Yeah, exactly. These small cups of tea. But then think about like Chinese or Japanese tea ceremonies, English afternoon tea. Like it manifests in a very different way, but it's very important to many cultures. It's the second largest drink after water. Uh, about 5 billion cups of tea are consumed daily around the world. So if you think about adult population, it would be a cup per one adult per day. So of course it doesn't work like that because some people don't drink tea, but there are like 5
Yeah, yeah,
billion
yeah, yeah,
people
yeah,
on this
yeah, yeah.
planet who are adults and 5
So
billion.
some people drink a lot of tea every day.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, some do, some do. And if you think about like the nature of the tea, it's a healthy drink. It's a very affordable drink. Like everyone can have it. It's good for the planet. It's versatile, so it's responding to almost not almost, but every consumer need, and you can drink it any time of the day. So you can start your morning with tea, you can end up your day with tea. There are a lot of things that are resonating a lot now with the tea because, for example, let's think about energy. Um, how, like, Generation Z, how I'm Generation Z, like, we are used to start our day with coffee. We need this shot of energy boost that makes you wake up and go. And the younger generations, they are not that much into coffee. So they are very aware of the negative impact of caffeine. So they don't want to have a crash. They don't want to have jitters. They don't want to impact their sleep. If you take triple coffee in the afternoon, it can impact your sleep. So this is why more and more people go into tea as a solution because tea has less caffeine. It has this L-theanine, which provides you, which gives you calm awareness. It's kind of a softer way to bring energy to you. It also increases your alpha brain waves that link to calm focus, and this energy is softer but lasts longer.
Yeah,
So
yeah. It doesn't give you the calm down of the caffeine that sometimes
exactly,
you have.
exactly. So this is
No, it's called. It's called the caffeine crash, I think they
Yeah,
normally call
caffeine
it.
crash. So with tea, you don't have caffeine crash. So this is why more and more people go into tea for energy. But then apart from that, tea is an amazing drink to hydrate. Zero sugar, natural, uh, which could be a good substitution for like sodas or for water, because water is natural and healthy, but it's not tasty. So tea is tasty.
And how do you think like retail, because we know that a lot of, when you go to market in FMCG, a lot is about the category and growing the category. How, from the time you've been at Lipton, how are you seeing like the retailers understanding this category?
Yeah. So I think it would be fair to say that tea category was in the shadow for some time. So and this is one of the things why what we are doing now with the team. Um, my 2025 was all dedicated to that. Uh, we were coming up with a new category, not new, but the first category vision for tea category. So the interesting thing is like because we are the biggest tea company in the world, if we don't do it, nobody else will. So this is why this year was all about working with markets and the global stakeholders to bring this vision of what is tea now and how do we see the growth of tea category in the next 3 to 5 years. What is the future for this category? And there are many things that are happening in this category at the moment that we want ourselves, our stakeholders, and retailers know about it. So this one is done. So we start bringing this to retail. You touched a very interesting point because this is where I believe we and retailers should be doing a lot of work together and collaboration together, because we need to discuss and bring this category into the future together. Discuss what are the growth platforms, like what are the biggest growth opportunity for this category. What do they think about the innovation that we might be bringing to the market? So we need to get their early feedback. Is it going to work? Or maybe they already had some experience. So we also need to do some tests together, like be that shelf tests or maybe even beta tests, because looking at what is happening in beverages now, more and more, it's going from hot beverages, cold beverages, and other categories that are adjacent to drinks, it more and more coming to one beverages space. So, and especially with the younger generations, like Generation Z, that they drink less hot, more cold, and even the drinks that we are drinking hot, they are drinking cold. So there's no separation anymore between hot and cold spaces in store. So, and we need to have these discussions together with retailers and prepare beverages moving into the future in a different way. And by the way, we do on some of the markets, and it works really well. Like one of the tests that we did in with some U.S. customers, uh, tests that are related to cafe at home subcategory. This is the proof that when we partner with retailers on on testing some ideas that could lead the category into the future, this could be very successful initiative.
Yeah, well, it will be an exciting one, but I think that retail and like FMCG and also the retail partners, it's a continuous work in progress. No, but I think that we're at a time where, especially food and bev, very fascinating because it's one of the things that we actually put in our body. So, Marina, from selling FMCGs in Vladivostok to opening a champagne bar, which is fascinating that it didn't exist in a city like Paris. So, congratulations on coming up with the idea and actually executing it, and not just protesting, as you said. But now also very exciting things coming up in the tea space. We'll be watching, and hopefully I'll see you soon, either in Amsterdam, but hopefully in your wine and your champagne bar in Paris. I am really keen to visit you there, and that you can show me what you have going on there.
You are very, very welcome.
Excellent. Well, thanks, Marina, for joining. Thanks to our audience for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next episode of the FMCG, guys. Have a great one.
The content in this podcast episode is provided for general informational purposes only. By listening to our episode, you understand that no information contained in this episode should be construed as advice from Dwyer Partners SL, doing business as the FMCG guys, or the individual author, host, or guests, nor is it intended to be a substitute for research on any subject matter. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by Dwyer Partners SL. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. Dwyer Partners SL expressly disclaims any and all liability or responsibility for any direct, indirect, incidental, special, consequential, or other damages arising out of any individual's use of, reference to, or inability to use this podcast or the information we presented in this podcast.